नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स. So today we are going to discuss a very beautiful sutta. It's a 52nd sutta from Majjhima Nikaya. 11 doors to Nibbana. Atthakanagara Sutta. Atthaka means 8 things. It's the name of a city. And a citizen from that city, Atthaka, he goes to Ananda and asks Ananda, which is the one thing that the blessed one, the Buddha, the Tathagata has explained in detail rightly. And one by one, Ananda gives a list of 11 things, all of which will lead to Nibbana. So it is also called 11 doors to Nibbana. So today I am going to read translation by I.B. Horner. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we will start with the sutta. Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length sayings, Atthakanagara Suttam, discourse to a citizen of Atthaka. Thus have I heard. At one time, the Venerable Ananda was staying near Vesali in Belua hamlet. Vesali is a citizen of the Vesali province, and there is a small village called Belua near Vesali. Venerable Ananda was staying there. Most probably this sutta is given after the Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha. So instead of Buddha, Ananda is addressing this sutta. So now Ananda is staying at a small village hamlet called Belua near the city of Vesali. Now at that time, the householder Dasama of Atthaka had arrived in Pataliputta on some business or other. So there is a person, he is a householder, his name is Dasama. Very interesting name. The name of the city is Atthaka, that means 8 things. And Dasama means 10. The name of the person is Dasama, 10. He is from that Atthaka city and he had come to the capital city of Magadha. Magadha and Vesali, they are 2 provinces. They are based opposite to each other on the bank of Ganges. Ganges is flowing in between the provinces of Magadha and Vesali. And Pataliputta is capital of Magadha and capital of Vesali province, Lichavi province is Vesali. So this householder, he had come to Pataliputta for some business. Today's Patna, Pataliputta is today's Patna. Then the householder Dasama of Atthaka approached a monk in Cox monastery. So there is a monastery called Kukut Arama. In that monastery, he goes, this householder, having approached, having greeted that monk, he sat down at a respectful distance. As he was sitting down at a respectful distance, the householder Dasama of Atthaka spoke thus to that monk: Revered sir, where is the Venerable Ananda staying at present? For we are anxious to see the Venerable Ananda. Householder, the Venerable Ananda is staying near Vaishali in Belua hamlet. So understand the geography. Patna and Vaishali, they are opposite to each other on the bank of Ganges. Ananda is staying in a village near Vaishali. The village name is Belua. And this householder now is in Patna, that is Pataliputra. Okay. But these are all nearby places. So in one day he can go there. Then the householder Dasama of Atthaka, having concluded his business in Pataliputra, that means Patna, approached the Venerable Ananda in Belua hamlet. Means he finishes whatever his work is there in Patna, and then he crosses the Ganges and go to the village called Belua near Vaishali. Having approached, having greeted the Venerable Ananda, he sat down at a respectful distance. As he was sitting down at a respectful distance, the householder Dasama of Atthaka spoke thus to the Venerable Ananda. Now is there, Revered Ananda, any one thing pointed out by the Lord who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell, diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, or the cankers not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction, or he attains that matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. What he is asking? He is asking one thing, tell me, taught by the Buddha for a monk to become an arahant. Arahant means somebody who is fully liberated from all the defilements. So Ananda gives him answer. Ananda gives this Dasama this answer. There is one thing, householder, pointed out by the Lord who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell, diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the cankers not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. Then the householder asks Ananda back, but what, Revered Ananda, is this one thing pointed out by the Lord who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the cankers not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. Then Ananda says, as to this householder, a monk. Now he is describing the first thing which can lead to arahantship, to Nibbana, aloof from the pleasures of the senses, aloof from the unskilled states of mind, entering into the first meditation, the first jhana, which is accompanied by initial thought and discursive thought, is born of aloofness and is rapturous and joyful, abides in it. So this is the first jhana. These are the factors of first jhana: vitakka, initial thought; vichara, discursive thought; the piti, which is born of aloofness, rapturous and joyful; sukha. Piti is the mental joy, and sukha is the bodily happiness. So vitakka, vichara, piti, and sukha. These are the four characteristics of first jhana. They are there, abides in it. He reflects on this and comprehends. This first meditation, first jhana, is effected and thought out. Means this is volitional and by choice. This is something that is created. But whatever is effected and thought out means whatever is by choice and by volition, that is impermanent. It is liable to stopping. Firm in this, he attains the destruction of the cankers. So, what makes the destruction of the cankers? It is this understanding of the impermanence that we have to understand here. We have to understand here how he is destroying the cankers by understanding the impermanence of the first jhana. He is destroying the cankers. So, what is more important here? First jhana is the base. First jhana is also important. But what leads to actual destruction of cankers is the knowledge of impermanence of the first jhana, the understanding of impermanence of the first jhana that leads to the destruction of the cankers. If he does not attain the destruction of the cankers, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising, one who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world, not liable to return from that world. He will not come back. That means anagami. If he does not become an arhat, then he will at least become anagami. And why one does not become arhat? By this attachment to Dhamma. If a monk is meditating and he is destroying his cankers little by little, then first he will become Sotapanna, then he will become Sagdagami, then he will become Anagami, and then Arhat. What is the difference between Anagami and Arhat? This Anagami is having this attachment to Dhamma. He delights in the Dhamma, but Arhat does not have attachment even towards Dhamma. So what Ananda says here, that by developing the understanding of impermanence, anicca, towards the first jhana, a monk either will become an arhat or some attachment to Dhamma remains, some delightness in Dhamma remains, then he will destroy the five fetters, five lower fetters. There are 10 fetters described in which come in the way of our arhathood. So the lower five fetters. First one is Sakkaya Ditti, that we think that there is some essence in our body and mind complex that is called Sakkaya Ditti. Vichikiccha. Vichikiccha is doubt about Dhamma. Silabbata Paramassa, attachment to the rites and rituals. Craving, raga, and aversion, dosa. So these five fetters are destroyed by Anagami, and he takes in birth in the Brahma world and attains Nibbana there. He does not come back. So by developing the understanding of impermanence towards the first jhana only, no need of going up to 8th jhana or 9th jhana. Even in the first jhana, if you develop proper understanding of anicca, then you can become an arahant or at least anatta. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell, diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the shankars, not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So this is the first door to Nibbana. Through first jhana also, one can, if one develops a proper understanding of anicca in first jhana, and of course, on the basis of anicca, we develop the understanding of anatta and dukkha. So, and also of the paticca samuppada, then we can become arhat, even in first jhana. Then second door of Nibbana, Ananda tells this Dasama. And again, householder, a monk, by allaying initial and discursive thought, so vitakka and vichara are gone here in the second jhana. His mind subjectively tranquilized and fixed on one point, there is ekagata, enters on and abides in the second meditation, which is devoid of initial and discursive thought, is born of concentration and is rapturous and joyful. So there is no vitakka and no vichara in second jhana. There is piti and sukha. Piti and sukha. And there is attention. Fixed on one point means not just on one point, but is attentive of the what whatever is happening in the mind. That is called ekagata. He reflects on this and comprehends. This second meditation is also effected and thought out. So this is also by choice and volitional. This second jhana, it is also artificial. It is made by mind. And whatever is effected and thought out, whatever is choice of action and whatever is volitional, that is impermanent. This is also anicca. It is liable to stopping. It is going to pass away. In this, he attains the destruction of the cankers. So, if one gets established in the impermanence understanding, understanding of the impermanence of the second jhana, then also a monk can attain the destruction of the shankars. If he does not attain the destruction of the shankars, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five petals binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising, one who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world. That means, if because of his attachment towards Dhamma, he is delighting in Dhamma, if he does not become an Arhat, he will become an Anagami. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the Shankars not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction. And two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So, this is the second door to Nibbana. When you reach second jhana and you develop proper understanding of anicca, it is automatically followed by understanding of anatta and paticca samuppada and dukkha, of course. Then you can become an arhat or at least anagami. Now, Ananda is talking about the third door to Nibbana. What is the third door to Nibbana? And again, householder, a monk, by the fading out of rapture, dwells with equanimity, attentive and clearly conscious, and experiences in his person that joy of which the Aryans say, Joyful lives he who has equanimity and is mind, and he enters on and abides in the third meditation. So here the third jhana is described. What are the factors in third jhana? By the fading out of rapture, there is no rapture. Piti is not there. See, in first jhana there was vitakka, vichara, piti, and sukha. In second jhana there was no vitakka, no vichara, piti, sukha, and ekaggata was there. Now in third jhana, piti is gone. The body, the mental joy is gone. Only bodily joy is there, and there is equanimity, upekha, attentive and clear conscious. Sati is there. Experiences in his person that joy of which the Aryans say, joyful lives who has equanimity and is bound to. Means there is sati and upekha. These factors are there in the third jhana with bodily joy. And he enters on and abides in the third meditation. Third jhana is there. He reflects on this and comprehends. This third meditation is also effected and thought out. But whatever is effected and thought out, that is impermanent. So this third jhana is also made by mind. It is a product of mind. And since mind is impermanent, this third jhana is also impermanent. It is also liable to stop. Firm in this, he attains the destruction of the cankers. If one gets established in the understanding of impermanence of the third jhana, then also can one attain the arahantship. If he does not attain the destruction of the cankers, that means if he does not become an arahant, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising. Means when one becomes anagami, he automatically appears in Brahmaloka. In Brahmaloka, you don't have to go in a mother's womb for 9 months. That's why it is called, he is of spontaneous uprising. Spontaneously you are born in Brahma. You don't have to go to the 9 months jail of the pregnancy. So it is called spontaneous uprising. One who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world. And when Anagami is born in a Brahmaloka, he attains the Arhathood there, and he does not come back to the lower world. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the Shankars, not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction. And two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So these are the three doors to Nibbana, to first jhana, to second jhana, to third jhana. So what is the common factor? The common factor is understanding of anicca. That is very important. Without understanding of anicca, you cannot attain arhatship or anagamiship. Okay. Now the fourth door to Nibbana, Ananda is explaining. And again, householder, a monk, by getting rid of joy, now the bodily joy, the sukha is also gone. By getting rid of anguish, no aversion, no anguish, by the going down of his former pleasures and sorrows, enters on and abides in the fourth meditation, which has neither anguish nor joy, and which is entirely purified by equanimity and mindfulness. So this is the fourth jhana. There is not even bodily joy, just equanimity and mindfulness. He reflects on this and comprehends. This fourth jhana is also effected and thought out. This is also by choice of action and volitional. It is also produced by volition. But whatever is effected and thought out, that is impermanent. It is liable to stopping. Firm in this, he attains the destruction of the shankars. That means he becomes an arhat when he develops the understanding of impermanence of even fourth jhana. If he does not attain the destruction of the cankers, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising. Means he takes birth in Brahmaloka. If he does not become an Arhat, he becomes an Anagami and takes birth in Brahmaloka. One who attains Nibbana there, when Anagami is born in Brahmaloka, he becomes Arhat there, not liable to return from that world. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby just a minute. Intelligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet free, and is free, and also the Shankas not yet completely destroyed, go to the complete destruction, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So these are the four doors of Nibbana. Till now, first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana are described. Now he is going to describe Metta, Karuna, Mudita, and Upekha, the four Brahma Viharas. So this comes to Twim. In Twim, we start practicing with Metta. Okay. So, and we then shift to Karuna, Mudita, and Upekha. So even while doing the Metta meditation, even when you are radiating Metta towards uh, all beings, then also if you develop proper understanding of anicca, and how we develop it, we develop it through the 6 R's. So 6 R's very important. 6 R's are very important while practicing Twim. So what Ananda says, and again householder, a monk dwells, having suffused the first quarter with a mind of friendliness, that is metta, loving kindness. Likewise the second quarter, likewise the third quarter, likewise the fourth quarter. Just so, above, below, across, he dwelt, having suffused the whole world everywhere, in every way, with a mind of loving kindness, friendliness, metta, that was far reaching, widespread, immeasurable, without enmity, without malevolence. He reflects on this and comprehends this freedom of mind, that is friendliness, the metta cheto vimutti, the freedom of mind through loving kindness, is also effected and thought out. That means it is by choice and volitional. But whatever is effected and thought out by choice and volitional, that is impermanent. Even this metta, we are using the metta as a tool. Don't get attached to metta, karuna, or mudita, or upekkha. These are tools to reach arhat. So these are also impermanent things. Even this metta is also impermanent. It is liable to stopping. Firm in this, when one gets established by practicing 6 R's, we get established in the knowledge of impermanence, in the understanding of impermanence, selflessness, and it's as a cause of suffering. The attachment towards even metta is a cause for suffering. And when we understand the paticca samuppada through 6 R's while practicing metta, Then what happens? Firm in this, he attains the destruction of the cankers. If he does not attain the destruction of the cankers, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters, binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising, one who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world. Thus, by developing proper understanding of anicca, even in the metta dhyana, even in the loving kindness practice, one can become arahant or at least anagami. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed is freed, and also the shankars not yet completely destroyed go to the complete destruction, and to he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So this was the fifth door to Nibbana. Now Ananda will explain the sixth door to Nibbana. What is the sixth door to Nibbana? It is about Karuna. And again, householder among dwells, having suffused the first quarter with a mind of compassion, likewise the second quarter, likewise the third quarter, likewise the fourth quarter. Just so above, below, across, he dwelt, having suffused the whole world everywhere, in every way, with a mind of compassion, karuna, that was far reaching, widespread, immeasurable, without enmity, without malevolence. He reflects on this and comprehends. Then he thinks, now he understands this freedom of mind that is compassion, karuna chetto vimukti, is also effected and thought out. This is also by choice and volitional. But whatever is effected and thought out, that is impermanent. This is also impermanent. So when we are practicing karuna, and while practicing karuna, when we practice siksas, then we understand that this karuna is also impermanent. It is liable to stopping. Firm in this, when we understand it fully, properly, and we get established in the knowledge of impermanence through this practice of karuna, he attains the destruction of the shankars. If he does not attain the destruction of the shankars, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by the delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to the lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising, one who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk well diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the shankars, not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction. And two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So this was the sixth door to Nibbana through the practice of karuna, through the practice of compassion. If we radiate compassion towards everybody, each and every living being in this world and in this universe and in this galaxy, wherever we go with karuna. And we understand that this karuna is also impermanent. We get very firmly established in the understanding of impermanence towards this karuna through the practice of siksas. Then also we can become arhat. And again, householder among dwells. This is now the seventh door, Nibbana, having suffused the first quarter with a mind of sympathetic joy, mudita. Likewise, the second quarter. Likewise, the third quarter. Likewise, the fourth quarter. Just so above, below, across, he dwelt, having suffused the whole world everywhere, in every way, with a mind of sympathetic joy that was far-reaching, widespread, immeasurable, without enmity, without malevolence. He reflects on this and comprehends this freedom of mind that is sympathetic joy, is also affected and thought out. This is also by choice and volitional. This is not something which is permanent, which has, but whatever is affected and thought out, that is impermanent. Whatever is born, it has to die. It is liable to stopping. Firm in this, he attains the destruction of the Shankars. He becomes an arahant. If he does not attain the destruction of the Shankars, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to this lower shore, is of spontaneous uprising. One who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world. So if he does not become an Arhat, he will become an Anagami. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the Shankars not yet completely destroyed, go to the complete destruction, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So, up till now, Ananda has described seven doors to Nibbana. Now, he is talking about the eighth door of Nibbana, that is through the Upekha. And again, householder among dwells, having suffused the first quarter with a mind of equanimity, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, just so above, below, across, he dwelt having suffused the whole world everywhere, in every way, with a mind of equanimity that was far-reaching, widespread, immeasurable, without enmity, without malevolence. So, when one is radiating upekha towards everybody, everything in this world, one is radiating upekha. He reflects on this and comprehends this freedom of mind, that is equanimity, is also affected and thought out. So this is also created by mind. This is also created by choice of action and volitional. But whatever is affected and thought out, that is impermanent. It is liable to stopping. So this is also anicca. Firm in this, when he gets established firmly in this practice of anicca, he attains the destruction of the Shankars. If he does not attain the destruction of the Shankars, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising. He takes birth in Brahmaloka as an anagami. That is called is of spontaneous uprising. One who attains Nibbana there, and when an anagami takes birth in a Brahmaloka, he becomes an arahant there. That is a rule. He will not come back down, not liable to return from that world. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk well, diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the Shankars not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So up till now, we have studied four jhanas and four Brahma Viharas. Okay. Now, Ananda will describe three Arupa jhanas. Okay. So, eight doors have been described. Now, three more doors he is going to describe. And again, householder, among, by wholly transcending perception of material shapes, by the going down of perception due to sensory impressions, by not attending to perception of variety, thinking, ether is unending, enters on and abides in the plane of infinite ether. So he goes in the jhana of infinite space. He reflects on this and comprehends this attainment of the plane of infinite ether. He is also affected and thought out. But whatever is affected and thought out, that is impermanent. It is liable to stopping. So even in this jhana of infinite space, when one practices 6 hours, he comes to know that this is also anicca, this is also impermanent. Come in this, when one becomes established in the understanding of anicca through the 6 hours, he attains the destruction of the cankers. He becomes an arahant. If he does not attain the destruction of the cankers, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters, binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising. If he does not become an arahant, he will become an anagami. He will take birth in Brahmaloka spontaneously. One who attains Nibbana there and it will become arahant there, not liable to return from that world, he will not come down. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, gets is freed, and also the Shankas not yet completely destroyed, go to the complete destruction. And two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So these were the 9 doors of the Nibbana, of the 10th door. And again, householder monks, a monk, by wholly transiting the plane of infinite ether, thinking, consciousness is unending, enters on and abides in the plane of infinite consciousness. He reflects on this and comprehends this attainment of the plane of infinite consciousness is also effected and thought out. But whatever is effected and thought out, that is impermanent. It is liable to stopping. Firm in this, he attains the destruction of the Shankars. If he does not attain the destruction of the Shankars, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising, one who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk, well diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed, is freed, and also the Shankars not yet completely destroyed, go to complete destruction. So, if one is practicing the infinite consciousness to all directions, he is practicing infinite consciousness and he understands the impermanence of this infinite consciousness also through the 6 hours. Then he can become an arhat or at least an anagami, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. And the 11th door to Nibbana. And again, householder, a monk, by wholly transcending the plane of infinite consciousness, thinking there is not anything, enters on the abide in the plane of nothingness. He reflects on this and comprehends this attainment of the plane of nothing is also effected and thought out. But whatever is effected and thought out, that is impermanent. It is liable to stopping. From in this, he attains the destruction of the Shankars. If he does not attain the destruction of the Shankars, then by this attachment to Dhamma, by this delight in Dhamma, by the destruction of the five fetters binding to this lower shore, he is of spontaneous uprising, one who attains Nibbana there, not liable to return from that world. This householder is one thing pointed out by the Lord, who knows, who sees, perfected one, fully self-awakened one, whereby if a monk dwell diligent, ardent, self-resolute, his mind not yet freed is freed, and also the Shankars not yet completely destroyed, go to the complete destruction, and two, he attains the matchless security from the bonds not yet attained. So thus Ananda has described the 11 doors to Nibbana. The plane of Naiva Sanyana Sanyayatan is not described here because probably it is just an extension of the nothingness. That's why it is not described here. But in the Chinese version of Tipitaka, there are 12 doors of Nibbana, and even the Neva Sanya Navansanya, neither perception nor non-perception. That jhana is also described as 12th door of Nibbana in the Chinese version. But in the original Pali, there are only 11 doors which are described. And then Anand, after Ananda describes all these 11 doors to Nibbana, when this had been said, the householder Dasama of Atthaka spoke thus to the Venerable Ananda. Revered Ananda, it is as though a man who was seeking for one opening to some hidden treasure were to come at one and the same time on 11 openings to the treasure. Even so do I, revered sir, in seeking for one door to the deathless, come to here at one and the same time of 11 doors to the deathless. And to revered sir, it is like a man's house that has 11 doors. If his house were on fire, he could make himself safe by any one of the doors. Even so can I, revered sir, make myself safe by any one of these 11 doors to the deathless. Now, revered sir, members of other sects will look about for a fee for the teacher. But why should not I pay honor to the Venerable Ananda? So, in other sects, the mendicants of other sects or the monks or the teachers of other sects, they demand the fees. But in Buddha's sects, in Buddha's path, not Buddha's sect, sorry, Buddha's path, Buddha's disciples, they do not demand anything. They just give metta, and if somebody gives them dana, then they accept it. But why should not I pay honor to the Venerable Ananda? Then the householder Dasama of Atthaka, having had the order of monks that was at Pataliputta and Vesali, gathered together. See, both these cities are nearby, just Ganges flow through them. So he gathers them together, uh, all the monks in Patna and Vaishali. Yeah. With his own hands served and satisfied them with sumptuous foods, solid and soft, and presented each monk with a separate pair of clothes. To the Venerable Ananda, he presented a set of 3 robes and had a dwelling place that cost 500 pieces built for the Venerable Ananda. So he was very much pleased and he gave so much of donation to the Sangha. And this is how the discourse comes to an end. So these are the 11 doors to Nibbana. So what is actually told here is what is important in this is the understanding of anicca. And that comes through the practice of 6 hours. So 6 hours are very important. Whether you are practicing first jhana, don't get worried that why I have not yet attained second jhana or third jhana or fourth jhana, or why I am not yet reached quiet mind or nothingness or that. If you are keeping your understanding of impermanence perfect, then you can become an arahant even in first jhana. There is no need to go to the quiet mind or even second jhana. So that is what this sutta says to us, that keep your understanding of anicca properly, get established in it firmly, and that happens through 6 hours. The relax step, the smile step, they are very important steps. Use those steps. Get yourself established in the understanding of anicca. When anicca is developed, automatically your understanding of dukkha and anatta and your understanding of paticca samuppada through 6 hours is developed very well, and you can become an arhat. So, thank you. Any question, please?
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Sir, sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
Like in the Sutta, in every stage of meditation, like every jhana, they
Yeah,
they have mentioned like upon reflection, it is affected and it is thought out.
yeah,
Exactly what is the intention of saying that one, sir? I could not able
ah,
to understand it.
yeah, yeah. That means it says that this whatever jhana we are going in, we are going into jhana because we are developing our mind, we are cultivating our mind. Okay, do you understand this? How we are going into jhana? Because we think that we have to go to this jhana, or we are developing metta, then we go in first jhana. Are you able to understand, Sachin?
Yes, sir. I could able to understand how we go to
Yeah,
jhana. Like
yeah, yeah. So it is
without any
created by mind.
intention, we
It is
go
something which is created by mind.
with this
Do you
affected.
understand
Okay,
this? So that's what they are saying. It is created by volition and mind.
okay. It
That's
is
what it is
affected.
said.
Okay,
Oh, oh, that is what is said. Affect. Okay.
okay. In every jhana, it is said that it is affected and
Mhm.
thought out because
Yeah,
of
because
its
it is
own.
created by our own thoughts. Because
Okay,
manopupangama dhamma. If you see the first verse of Dhammapada, everything is mind made. Okay. So it is
okay,
made by mind, and because mind is impermanent, so the jhana is also impermanent. Okay.
okay, okay, sir.
Hmm.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Any other question? Okay. If there are no questions, we will go for the prayer. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving
May the
shed all
grieving
grief,
of all griefs,
and may all
may
beings
all
find
beings
relief. May all beings share
being
this
share
merit
this merit
that we
that
have thus
we have the
acquired
supply
for the
for the
acquisition
acquisition of all kinds of happiness.
or happiness. May beings
Beings
inhabiting space and
inhabiting
earth,
space and earth,
devas and nagas
Devas
of
and
mighty power,
Nagas of mighty
share
power,
in this merit of
share the
ours.
mighty
May
powers.
they long
With the
protect the
long protected
Buddha's
within
dismissed.
dispensation.
Sa, sa, sa.
May all beings be happy.
Okay, thank you, May.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thank you,
Dr.
sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Madhusudanji. Thank
Thank
you,
you
thank you,
all.
everyone. Thank you.